And good morning. Welcome to Your Vote Counts. I'm Scott Mitchell, Leader Munson, Leader Preiffer. Good to have you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
We talked about a budget this entire year, and the budget is finally in law, but the governor did not sign it, but it's law. Help us understand what just happened.
Yeah, that's correct. So we have talked about the budget that we worked on during special session a couple weeks ago. We questioned, debated, and voted on the bill, and now it is law without the governor's signature, meaning without his approval, which is really unfortunate and quite confusing because the Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the governor's mansion, and yet still cannot agree on the most important work that we do at the state capitol, even though those Republican leaders did exactly what he wanted them to do, which put millions of dollars behind private school tax credit programs to help some of the wealthiest Oklahomans send their children to private schools, which is something clearly House Democrats disagree with, but the Republicans can't agree either.
Can't agree. Leader Preiffer, what does that mean? Why did the governor not sign that budget?
The governor said in his message that this budget relied too much on one-time money. The difference is that the House doesn't feel that way. We put one-time money where we needed it into specific one-time investments. The governor also had the ability to veto or line item veto this budget, neither one of which he did. This is a good budget that puts money where we need it, into mental health funding in the state of Oklahoma, unprecedented public school funding, money into things like drought relief, conservation practices for my friends out in the rural districts. This is a really good budget that's going to help a lot of people.
Okay, they can't agree. Interesting, if you smell the air, I know that's Canadian fires we're smelling, but also you're hearing it's primary season. You'll enjoy this one. And Republicans are not agreeing on what to do. A bunch of legislators in Oklahoma, for example, to my left there, have decided to come out for Ronnie D., the governor of Florida. So here we go. The Trump people will not be happy about this. So primary season started. Oklahoma's getting involved.
We are getting involved. I mean, Oklahoma is going to be a major part and a major mover in the Republican primary. I think at last count, there was 9 people in the Republican primary. That number could grow. It's going to be interesting to watch it shape and unfold and actually talk about some of the problems we're facing in this country and hopefully figure out ways and talk about how we fix these. In my opinion, I think Oklahoma is going to have a strong role to play in that because of our strong Republican voter turnout. We have Governor DeSantis will be coming to Oklahoma here on Saturday. I think we'll see a lot more people come through Oklahoma as we work our way through this primary season.
But on your side of the ledger, you're really interested in one getting renominated, right?
Yeah, so anytime there's, presidential season, you're going to see primaries and lots of people get in the race, and that's the same thing with the Democratic primary. One thing I think we need to keep focused on is what President Biden has done, not only for the country, but for the state of Oklahoma. After the pandemic, ensuring that billions of dollars got into the state of Oklahoma so we can make investments and ensure that not only do we recover from the pandemic, but to do generational, transformational projects that really will change the state of Oklahoma, ensure that people get access to jobs, the healthcare that they need, improve our schools, and all sorts of things, not just in urban areas of Oklahoma where people like to say Democrats represent, but also in rural areas of our state too. Great investments being done.
And that's for the future, but we're going to go back to the past on some battles that are happening right now, but you got to wait till the next segment and we'll bring it up. And welcome back. We were talking earlier about the past as prologue. There have been some real fights with tribal nations, about compacts and charter schools and that sort of thing. So there's more of that coming up, all right? So John, let me ask you this question. There's a problem now or a disagreement, again, with the House and the legislature and the governor over compacts. For those of us who are on the outside looking in, what's going on?
Sure. So the car tag compacts that we have with our tribal friends and the cigarette compacts are set to expire. And what the legislation would do would take those compacts and extend them out a year. Right now we have 9 tribes whose compacts about their car registrations has already expired. What this bill do, again, would extend it a year because of a recent Supreme Court decision that says the legislature does have the ability to help affect and negotiate out these compacts. So what we're trying to do is extend this out a year, give it time. The governor has vetoed these bills. I believe we will come back in and override those vetoes to give ourselves enough time.
There's some breaking news right there, okay, that you are going to come back in special session on the overrides. All right, help me understand what's going on with them.
of all the legislation the governor could have vetoed, he chose to veto the 2 bills that would extend the compacts with our tribal nations. And so he continues to show his disregard to our tribal leaders and our tribal nations, which is very unfortunate. You know, when it comes to this issue, you'll see Republicans and Democrats working together because we know how important our tribal nations are to the state of Oklahoma. We have a great partnership, the way they contribute to our state in all areas, urban and rural. And so hopefully we do come back into special session and do the right thing.
So there is some working together between the parties. Okay. Also, there is the virtual charter school has approved a religious charter school. There's going to be some legislation. The AG's already come out very strong against it. What's happening there?
Yeah, so Oklahoma now has approved the nation's first religious charter school. We have public money going to a religious school. This is something we know Oklahomans are absolutely against, yet Republican leaders made this a priority this legislative session that paved the way for something like this to happen. We had multiple bills that had to do with putting public dollars toward private schools. This is not the responsibility of the Oklahoma legislature. Our responsibility is to fund public services, and that means public schools where all students have access to, and 90% of our families choose public schools. That's where our investment should be.
Okay, so the disagreement now, this is the Republican Attorney General, the Republican governor on opposite sides of this. Sounds like litigation, John.
Yes, it does. And what I don't understand is why this is necessary. The work we did in the legislature this year expanded options for Oklahoma families and puts Oklahoma parents back in the driver's seat of their children's education, which is where they need to be. This recent decision by the Oklahoma Virtual Charter School Board seems like it's going to open things up for litigation, open up a potential lots of problems of a Pandora's box of who does get and who doesn't get to be a charter school in the state of Oklahoma, not to mention a bill signed by the governor that this board goes away and becomes just a statewide charter school bill. So I do think this is potentially problematic and is going to open up the state to a lot of unintended consequences.
And back to the lawyers here we go. Okay, and back to court. Well, thank you both for being here. And thank you for watching Your Vote Counts. See this again at news9.com/YourVoteCounts and follow me on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn @Mitchell Talks.